First off, I want to thank the sheriff. Where's the sheriff already go? Right there, I want to thank the sheriff for opening up his training facility to us. And when I went to do the meeting, he called and he said, would you mind doing this at my training center? I said, absolutely not. And I appreciate very much, Sheriff Ard, for you opening this up and having your people have it all ready for us. And then thank you all the districts that came out. When you're going to do a lot of things, people will say and do a lot of things to, you know, when you go to set your millages. The people that are not part of the districts that are here tonight, thank you for coming in. It means something to you. So we're going to basically share information with you tonight. I'm going to start off telling you what I'm going to do in the assessor's office, and then we're going to go from there. But before I do, my staff is sitting over here to the left. Y'all look over to the assessor's office staff. They're the ones that work hard for you every day and make sure that things are done right. What I'm going to do, this is going to be the worst part of my presentation with my picture and everything up there. But if you'll go ahead and slide to the next one, David. All right. Some of y'all, this is going to be redundant because you already know you're the district leaders. And, oh, I'm not supposed to walk, am I? I'll go back over here. My daddy was a Pentecostal preacher, so we walk back and forth. So, what is the assessor's job? My job is to discover, list property, and place value on all properties. That's what the assessor's job is to do. I do not raise or lower taxes. I do not collect taxes, and I do not determine your tax rate. The assessor's sworn duty to see that the appraised values in their jurisdiction meet the requirements of the law and administrative rules. That's what my job is. So you have a situation to where we go out and assess all the properties. And once every 4 years, we're required. It is not a situation where it's a suggestion from the state or anything like that. It is required that we do a reassessment. So 2024 is that reassessment. Now, some of y'all have been hearing that the assessments are going to be higher. They're going to be higher, okay? But you also need to realize that you also have had flood discounts that have been on your assessments. Several people, we had to pull those off this year because the tax commission said, and we also had a COVID discount of 10%, and so that come off. And so all of the districts that are here have basically been going without that money for all of this time. And so now it's time for them to now recoup some of that they have lost over the years, okay? So they have been very good. I went to several of them and talked, because when the flood hit, we were in a situation to where I knew that we had to give some relief to the public. But I also knew that I had to keep my districts running, because if I'd have went in like some of the parishes did and they gave 75%, 80% reductions, we'd have went bankrupt. There would have been no way for us to keep up. Schools, sheriff's office, anybody, they couldn't have kept up. So we decided to give 20% over 5 years. It went a little bit longer than that, but we gave the reductions down for that. And because I felt like if Ascension Parish and Livingston got 80%, then my people deserve the same thing. So I just had to stretch it out over a little bit longer period of time. And our districts were very good about acknowledging that and trying to reach that goal. This year in the assessments, we're looking at going up to about 928 million. We're somewhere in the neighborhood of 600 million as of 23. So we're picking up a good bit of revenue, about a 33 to a 40% overall. Now, when you look at that, taxes can be a little bit more because the first $75,000 is homestead exempt. So you got to build all of that in, and then you're going to come up with your tax rates. Once I reach the assessment as to where it's supposed to be in the parish, the reassessment, then the legislative auditor comes in and resets the millage rates. They do what you call an adjustment. They adjust them downward, so you don't take in any more money than you took in last year. So once that happens and the legislative auditor comes in, my job is finished and the legislative auditor's job is finished. So the way it's set up is you're not supposed to take in any more money than you took in last year. They give you a zero net sum, okay? In the same meeting, the district can then decide if they want to roll their millages forward. You adjust them downward. At the same meeting, you roll them forward. And they can go anywhere from that minimum that the legislative auditor put on all the way up to their maximum. And then each one of the districts come in and they set their rate. The assessor does not do that. The districts do it. Nor do the districts want me to do that. They want me to be the assessor. And so that's what I do. So tonight I'm going to talk to y'all about what I'm going to do in my office. And then each one of the districts that are here are going to share with you what they plan to do. Last year my budget was $5.6 million, 5.691 to be exact. Inflation over the last 4 years has been 18%. So if we stayed flat and took the same amount of money as we got last year, we would be losing 18% buying power, give or take some. Now it may not be exactly on, but it's going to be give or take that. So I looked at my budget and I figured that with what I need to do, because this year I want to add more to my mapping, we've got to buy new computers, health insurance costs are going up, just everyday expenses are going up. So I have to try to keep up, I can't stay flat. But in my particular case, I did not need to go up all the way to the maximum, because that would have brought in $2.1 million more into my budget this year than last year. I didn't need that much. So I have made the decision that I'm going to adjust down to what the legislative auditor said, and then I'm going to raise my millages back up to the 7.22. My maximum is 8.52, so I'm giving back 1.3 mils back to the public, which comes in to be roughly about $1.3 million. Okay, so I didn't need it all, but I did need some. And that's what, when I was talking to all the districts, you need to look at your budget, you need to decide what you need for yours, because we've got a lot of times, you've got people that will be on, and how many of y'all have ever seen anybody get on a computer or anything like that, and they say all the things that need to be done in the parish? Well, they say all the stuff that needs to be done, but I want you to look around. You've got probably 10 to 12 to 15 people that are here. We've got more than that get on the computer every day. But when it come down to it, and we said we got us a meeting here that you can come in and you can look and see what's going to happen with your millages and everything, we've got a few people that come in, and thank y'all very much for coming in. And the district here appreciate you coming in, so thank y'all so much. But that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to lower mine to the 7.22, and it's going to allow me, like I said, to update my mapping, update my flyover. We didn't get to do a flyover the last couple of years. We're going to do another flyover. So we want to make sure that we do that. I don't want to go back to where we didn't have people on the rolls. I don't want to go back to where we don't have the technology, because technology does make it to where you don't have to have as many employees and you can get the work done. Okay, many of y'all have called me over the last week, and especially today, asking me questions about what the assessments are going to do. We are close to reaching the $1 billion taxable value, $1 billion. When I came into office, we were at 101 million. 101 million. So we have grown that much. We're a growing parish. And so we've done our job. My people went out and made sure that everything is where it needs to be. And now here we are, and all of a sudden we've got a large growth. Now, just so y'all know, I have had real estate agents come in, I've had appraisers come in, I've had adjusters come in, and I wanted to make sure my numbers were right. I didn't want to go in here and throw a number out there and all of a sudden somebody come back and say, well, that's not right. My job is to make sure that they are fair and equitable. And so to make sure I did that, I went out and got other people to look at them, and they said our numbers are right. So we are getting real close to that $1 billion mark, which is phenomenal for Livingston Parish, because look, 20 years ago, you'd have never thought we'd get close to that. It'd take a long time, but we have got it to there. Let me ask y'all a question. One of the things that comes up more often than not is people ask me about the homestead exemption. How many of y'all are familiar with the homestead exemption? Okay, just for fun, I'm going to ask y'all, how many of you want to raise the homestead exemption?
I want to take a look at it too.
All right, so just raise your hand if you want to raise the homestead exemption. Raise your hand. What would you raise it to? Give me a number. Somebody give me a number. 100,000, okay?
250,000.
That's never gonna happen. Good try. But 100,000. All right, so 100,000. I'll split the difference with you. I'll go 125. That's not quite the difference, but I'll go 125. Here's the question. Be honest with me, because I already know. How many of you in here has houses that are valued more than 125,000? Congratulations, your taxes just went up. You know why? Because the legislative auditor says that you have to take in the same amount of money as you took in last year. So the more people you take off the roll, you got to make it up somewhere. So everybody between $75,000 and $1 up to $125,000, they're no longer paying. So you got to make that money up somewhere. So then it jumps into that. So if you want to take it up to 250, then you've taken everybody out from under 250, and now you've got what's left. How many of y'all really want to see your taxes go up another 30, 40%? That's what raising the homestead. So you've got to be careful when you're saying that I want to raise the homestead exemption. You better know what you're talking about when you do it. I don't have a problem with it if you want to go do it. Legislative, that's the ones that got to do it, but I'm just telling you what's going to happen. So we're always real careful when people start talking about it, and we want to educate them. We want you to come in. The reason we're having this meeting tonight is so you come in and ask us questions. So at this point, you know what I'm going to do. I'm dropping my millage, 1.3 mils. I'm putting back into the parish $1.3, $1.4 million. So at this point, I'm going to open up to any questions that anybody has for the assessor. Don't ask me about other districts, because the districts are going to be here tonight to just explain what they're going to do and what their budgets are going to be. But anybody have any questions for the assessor? Mr. Matt Morris.
How does frozen assessments work out in this?
Frozen assessments? Okay, again, everybody that turns 65, when you freeze their assessments, then that money is not, their assessments are not going up any. So if they make less than $100,000, their assessments are frozen. So you've got to make it up somewhere. So when you take them off, somebody else has got to pay a little bit more. I'll give you a great example. One of my teachers told me this when I first started out becoming an assessor. Let's say we go to eat tonight. There's me and 9 other people, and we go to Ruth Chris's, okay? At the end of the night, the bill comes and it's $100. How much does that make each person pay? All right, come on, this is question and answer, come on. 10. Okay, but now we've got all the people that are frozen, so we tell 2 people to go get on the bus. So now the bill's still $100, but we got 8 people paying. But then we come in and we say, well, they fought for our country, so we want to give our veterans a reduction. What happens now? We put 2 more people on the bus. Now you got 6 people paying the $100. And then recently we had the first responders come on. And you put another person on the bus. Before you know it, you're down to 3 or 4 people that are now paying that $100 bill. And so your bill went from being $10 to $33. You understand? So the more people you turn, and I just want y'all to know that I supported the freeze form, I supported the veterans, and I supported the first responders. So I'm for them, and I understood what it meant when I voted for those. So just know, the more people you take off, the more you're going to have to pay if you're the one on the roll.
Well, the other option to that scenario would be you don't eat at Ruth's Chris. You eat at Los Sombreros or somewhere else where your bill is less.
Well, I agree with that, but what I'm going to tell you is that $10 people is not eating at Ruth Chris's for $100. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing about property tax compared to other taxes, is I have some control over that as a taxpayer on the property that I live in, the things that I own. I mean, it's very difficult to get out of sales tax. You buy the things, you have to pay the sales tax.
Well, not necessarily, John. I've got the option of whether or not I want to buy that item. I don't have to buy that item. So if I don't want to go in there and buy a bag of chips, I don't buy a bag of chips, I don't pay any sales tax. So it's the same thing. You've got the option to be in and out of either one. So it comes down to what do you want to, how you want to live your life. Yes.
Can I have a follow-up on the frozen assessment?
Yes, sir.
So the elderly folks that have increase in their taxes.
They will not receive an increase in any assessment. But if a district passes another tax, or if
Specifically for this, they will not experience an increase.
they could experience an increase in taxes, but not assessments. See, the only thing that's frozen is your assessment. So if a district rolls millages back to the maximum, or if a district passes another tax, then that tax is passed on to those people. Their assessment don't change.
It could be possible someone who has a frozen assessment actually has a reduction in their taxes this year. If you reduce your millage and these other districts reduce their millages,
Yep.
then they would experience a reduction in their.
Well, the way it is, Mickey, is if everybody lowered their assessments to what the legislative auditor said, nobody would have an increase at all.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. That's why the legislative auditor comes in and puts that on there. They put you at a zero-sum increase, so you wouldn't have any increase except for the growth. Now, the growth is not included into a reassessment. That's just stuff that was added on in 24 when we put that on. But yeah, theoretically, you wouldn't have any. So what happens is at that point, the districts vote on what they're going to do, and then we add them all up. We send them over to have the tax notices sent out, and then they add up all the taxing rates, and that's what becomes your tax bill. But if they put them as no increase, or they put them back to the lower amount, what the legislative auditor said, then you won't have an increase. But they're not keeping up with inflation at that point. They're not able to do anything new at all. Dale?
Does that happen every year or every 4 years?
Every year it comes in and they say, because we have growth every year, but you only have reassessment every 4 years. So even in this year, you still have growth, but a reassessment is exactly what it says. It's a reassessment of everything that was already here. If it wasn't here this year, then it can't be reassessed. It's just put on as growth. But anything that was here before, we reassess it once every 4 years. Okay? Bob?
My understanding in relation to Assessor and every other district is there's two sources of revenue, new revenue that come. That whatever we do with the reassessments, that in terms of the villages, that could bring new revenue in, because they're going forward some of the villages and not stay in the last year.
That's correct.
Secondly, you've got new properties that come online that weren't here in your prior period, that will be here this year to bring additionally.
Yep.
And as a taxpayer, my concern is I wish, first of all, before we voting on villages in a year when the reassessment occurs, that we could get the numbers before we have to vote on villages. You know, and we have the provision to be able to roll you back, or y'all roll it back. But I'd like to know, you know, how much more am I going to be paying in 24 on these villages I'm voting for now, is going to take in effect in 24. You know, we're kind of doing it. We're voting for it, and then we're finding out what it really costs.
Yeah. Well,
And I know that y'all can't necessarily control that, in the year when reassessments occur, kind of have the votes of the rules will be measured to the dollar. And then, in terms of, you know, there's people that get the special, increase in their homestead exemption, like you mentioned, 25,000. I voted for it. I believe it's some sort of order or emergency, our police or fire chiefs and so, you miss some black that they get that. But they're also beneficiary of the revenues that are coming from the reassessment. You know, and it leaves a taxpayer that isn't one of those groups, you know, continues paying more bill. And some of these taxpayers, I mean, inflation, they're paying higher costs. They're paying higher sales tax because it's going to cost more, and now we're jumping in the property tax rate. Now, I'm okay with people charging more. I understand every district cost has gone up in the last 4 years since the last reassessment. But I really would I just encourage you to take a hard look. The economy is a little tough right now, and I don't think we're staying in that. And I would just look hard at your budget and ask this year in particular, this crazy year we're in with a presidential election ahead of us, it might be a good time to really take a hard look, and can I not go to the full amount that can. That's the only thing I ask. So you could respond to that and look at your budget and say, what can I do, what I need to do? You know, maybe it's in the year to put a bunch of big projects, until we get beyond this election and we understand where we're headed afterwards.
Dale said something a few minutes ago. He asked, does this happen every year? If you don't look at the millages every year, because once every 4 years, the districts are required by law to go back to their maximum or they lose their maximum. Look, no one is going, we can play games if you want to, nobody's going to give up their maximum millage. They're just not going to, in case something happens, they're not going to do it. We tried to pass a constitutional law, I think it was 2 years ago, that said the districts could lower their millages every year for the rest of your life if they wanted to, but they always had that ability to go back to the maximum if they needed to. Because what happens is requirement, every 4 years they've got to go back to the maximum, so they take a windfall no matter what. And so that's what happens. And so we tried to pass it and it failed pretty decently. But if we ever bring it back, y'all gonna need to see it. Look, I'm doing everything I can in my office for the transparency. That's what people are asking for. They want transparency. And so we're about to put some dollars into advertising to let people know you need to come in. Our books don't open until August the 15th. We're open now. I've told my staff the books are open as of tomorrow morning. You can go online and look at your assessment. You can come in and look at your assessment, or you can call and look at your assessment. But I think it's important that people come in so they're not shocked, because one of the things that people always say is, why are the tax bills always come out around November 15th? That's what the law says. You know, we've got certain processes we got to go through, and then the books are open, then you go through this process, and then you got to get them printed, and by the time you get them out, it's right around Christmas. So we're letting you know here, June the 11th, that you need to call in and check your assessments. And I will tell you this. Look, I've had long conversations today, and through the last few weeks and everything, but a lot of them have been today. And these districts really are trying to look at their budgets. And they're trying to make sure that they can do what's right by the parish. I don't think you have people out there just looking to take just excess money and go put it into a reserve fund. They're wanting to make sure that when they get down to the bottom of the day, they're having to set their budgets or talk about their budgets today for a budget that starts January the 1st. And then you got a year before that comes in. So that's 18 months that they got to make sure that their insurance don't go up. Sheriff, has your insurance went up since you've become sheriff back in 2012? Has it went up a little bit? Anybody else at school board, your insurance went up? Has the cost of doing business went up? And I understand what people say. They say, well, the working person, the people of the parish, they just do without. Well, you can, but sometimes it causes you to fall behind, and you don't have the technology, you don't have the things that are necessary to make sure that if an accident happens. We had an accident yesterday on South Satsuma Road. It was mighty nice to see that they said that the first responders showed up there within 5 minutes, and they was able to get everybody out of the cars before they caught on fire. That was nice. What if that would have been a 30-minute response instead of a 5-minute? We could have a larger tragedy. So when you're looking at it, you can look at it through the lens that we're talking about, because look, I'm a fiscal conservative. I'm extremely conservative. But I also know that I have to get certain things done in my parish. I've got to have the people that can get out there and work. And you also got to pay people enough to keep them. There is nothing worse than when I lose somebody because they had a job that paid them more. And I've spent 5 years training them and getting them ready to go, and they're up and running the speed, and they say, well, for my family, I've got to go do this. It's nothing worse than that. It's nothing worse also than somebody who you keep around and they're not doing the things that are necessary. Okay? So we have to weigh it out. We got to make sure that we're doing the best of our ability to make sure. And look, I work with really good people in this parish. I work with really good people in this parish. They stay in touch with each other. They call each other. We're trying to do the right thing. Now, I know that there are some keyboard cowboys that get out there and they start talking about everybody as the worst thing that's ever come along. They are the absolute worst to ever come. Just because you get into elected office, all of a sudden that makes you the worst person around. I go to church with people that 2 weeks before the election, we're going to lunch, and the day that something happens, somebody comes out against me, I'm the worst thing to live. It happens. But that being said, I work with some really good people that are conscientious and they're trying to do the right thing. And at this point, I am going to, who's here representing the parish? All right, all of y'all? Who's going to speak? Let me restate that. Who's going to speak for the parish tonight? All right, I'm going to ask all y'all to stay seated until we can get somebody.
I can say that. You were, one, on Thursday night, so Thursday night at the council meeting, this will be on the agenda. So at that point, discussion will be heard, and the councilmen will make their position known. So if you are interested in our few millages, then Thursday night would be the time that you would be at the council chambers and present it'll be open to the public. So.
We're telling us before that we.
Yeah, we have four on the agenda, which is the parish, they call it the alimony inside and alimony outside. So that's, I believe that's a constitutional guarantee, so people do not vote on that millage. That's provided for the government, and that's not just your parish government. That's for all your unfunded mandates. That's the coroner. That's the DA's office, the judge's office. So it's
Nothing to do with marriage.
yeah, has nothing to do with marriage or the like of marriage and alimony. And then we have the health unit tax, which was voted down by the public, and it does expire December 31st of 24. So that will be back on the ballot, but it will be discussed because the assessment for 24 does affect this particular millage as well. And then we have the parish road millage, which will be discussed. So those are the items that will be on the agenda for Thursday night. So if you have anything to say, that would be, you can say it tonight, but I mean, that it will be voted on Thursday. Any other councilman have any? That's the first time I heard them again. That's yes, sir.
It's just the introduction on Thursday. We don't have to have public hearing on it.
It won't be a public hearing on Thursday?
No.
Okay.
2 weeks.
Okay, so it'll be introduced.
This Thursday.
Okay.
It's 2 weeks.
So it'll be introduced and then it'll come
It
back.
has to be published several times in the newspaper.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it has to be 30 days, published twice, and to be in our official journal and that. And
So that's July.
I never passed my food, so, you know that. Right?
That's good.
I feel it's kind of responsible as a councilman and as our other councilmen here that we as a group have some voice here tonight. And we don't want to have an appearance that we're just trying to not be part of the meeting. That's definitely not the case. So some of the pulse, I will say, of this council has always been, and I'm kind of speaking for them, but not speaking for them. I'm just saying this, the pulse of the council is that we have a very strong desire as the parish president to work hand in hand together to help our parish move forward. I had a meeting with the sheriff just the other day, and it is very refreshing from a lifelong resident of this parish that's been involved, been to the wrecks, been to the fires, done the dirty work, fought the battles, to be able to see where we really have an opportunity to go. I keep telling everybody, please just look at the glass half full for us. Give us the opportunity. This is the 6th month of our term. So the pulse of this council is to give back as much as we humanly possibly can to what we refer to as the rooftops of this parish. A sales tax comes in, people come in, they stop off the interstate, they spend their money, we take their money, we put it to work for you and for your roads. The rooftops of the parish, as Mr. Taylor referred to, our parish has grown, the assessed value has gotten a lot better. So we are trying to do our best to keep up with the growth, but it's a very serious struggle. So the best thing that's happened so far, from my standpoint, is the road bond that was put out when the road fund was, sales tax was created. That's paid off. That's helped our parish a lot from a cash flow standpoint. And then the second part of that is just watching this council do the things that they do and trying to give back to the rooftops. And when I say give back to the rooftops, I mean the constituents of this parish have footed the bill on your tax rolls based on a millage. The bulk of the parish government. That's where we've gotten our revenue. The parish has grown. We're starting to get things like Bass Pro. We're starting to get things like Jubilee Crossing. We're starting to get things like the industrial park in Walker. We got an airport coming that hopefully will bring in some more commercial development that will help us pay the bill so we can continue to reduce that millage that's on the backs of the people of this parish. And when you open your door, and when I say it's a rooftop, it's a door in your house and your tax bill. I like to say it very simple. Everybody's doing the best that they can to pay their electric bill right now. So we need to give back as much as we can to help you pay that electric bill. So our parish and our council as a whole has committed to doing just that. We've been looking very hard at all the millages across the board, what's good for us, what's needs to be looked at, and we're holding people accountable. I don't know if anybody's here with the library or not, but it's no hidden agenda from Ricky Goff's standpoint that I feel in my heart after looking at from 15 to now that we need to look at moving that back a little bit. I do not, and this council does not wish to cut any services. We don't want to go backwards, but we want the people in these districts and these areas to have the funds that they need. The funds that they need. And that's it. Because we need to give as much as we can back because these people are trying to pay their tax bill, their electric bill. So we're going to go back to the health unit. And right now the health unit is going to be back up on the agenda to renew. And it's set at 2.5. It always carried a balance over. So we're going to roll that back and put it back on the agenda for 2.0. We had to do that because we had to get it out there. But in all reality, after we get the assessment part, 1.88 is what collects us the same revenue. So this council, as I hope, and as the pulse of the council as I feel, will roll it back to the 1.88, and that's where it will stay. It will be voted on in the election, and I'm looking for a 70% vote in supporting it because we need to know that our restaurants are safe and people need the health department, they can go. We're going to educate everybody of exactly what the health department does. We're putting it on the ballot in November so everybody, it's a good turnout. We want everybody to have a voice. And it also don't cost us very much at all, if anything. So one of the things that I'm going to ask them to do is take it another step further and move it down to 1.75. Because they have a surplus that's going to help us with animal control. If they need to collect 1.2 million to survive, and we set it at 1.75, and they only collect 1.1, and they're short by 100,000, they're going to do just like everybody else does. They're going to go over there to their savings account. They're going to get that 100,000 and pay their bills, right? Because they got a surplus. We do not want the health department to collect no more than they need. So we want to give back. Right now it's set at 2.5. And my desire and hopes is we move it back to 1.75. At a minimum, 1.88. So we're going to roll that back. We're also going to look at the library about being able to scale that back a little bit, not to cut services. I want to make sure that's clear. We're not here to cut services. I promise you. We're not here to cut services. But we're not here to carry $300,000 over every year and put it in the bank. If anybody wants to see it, more than happy to call me. So we're going to look at other entities, the gravity drainage districts. Man, we need gravity drainage districts. We need to fund them. It would be nice to give them more money. But we're getting a service for what we're paying, and we're staying ahead of our drainage. And we're doing a master plan, and we're doing all of these other things to use our money wisely in all these districts as well as the parish. So I just say all of that simply to say that we are going to do everything that we humanly possible as a council to give as much money as we possibly can back to the rooftops of the people of this parish. End story. And we are challenging, just like Jeff said, we're challenging every entity and holding them accountable to say, we need this money. Why do you need that money? Convince me. Because my responsibility as a councilman is to the people of this parish and make sure that they are getting what they need for the littlest amount of money out of your pocket, and that's my pocket too, that we can. So the more the sales tax goes up, the more our sales base goes up, the more commercial growth we get, etc., and all those things, hopefully we will continue to see this trend of getting off of the rooftops of this parish. So look at the glass half full. Just look at the glass half full. That's all I ask. Simply look at the glass half full, and we're going to put as much money as we can to help you pay that electric bill. Thank you.
Okay, so the parish council is saying that they're gonna be looking at it, and I really believe that if I heard right, you're gonna introduce it tomorrow night, Thursday night, and then you've gotta advertise it for a certain amount of time. So don't forget that you can't just do it 2 weeks from now, you've gotta advertise it for like 30 days. So that's a second group that is looking at lowering the millages. It's important also, and this is, again, I'm gonna reiterate what my job is. My job is to make sure that I put the property where it's supposed to be. They do not come into my office and suggest, hey Jeff, what if you only put it on for 25% of value? They tell me that I have to make it fair and equitable. And in the same stroke, they come in as the legislative auditor and they adjust the millages down to where no more money is taken. So at that point, I'm out of the equation. But a lot of times people come in November into my office. Some of you all may have been by there in November, and you got people lined up in the lobby out the door, and they're wanting to know why their taxes are too high. That's why we're having the meeting tonight, because I don't know what your budget is. I've tried to explain them over the last 24 years as to why the taxes are what they are. But that's really not my job. My job is to explain Jeff Taylor, the assessor's budget. And so, thank you, Parish Council, for coming in. I know that a couple of y'all are needing to leave and go to another meeting. So, thank y'all so much for coming in. At this point, I'm gonna have Sheriff Ard, if you will come in. You didn't know if you need a microphone or not, so whatever, just go ahead.
I keep saying I'm moving the camera, so I didn't know. Down here or up there? This good?
You good?
Jason Ard, and my duties and responsibility is also to do with taxes, but I don't assess your property. I just collect your taxes. So that's one of my duties. The other is the keeper of the jail. I'm responsible for making sure that the jail is safe and secure. That's the other responsibility, and also the safety of you and your family, my family as well. It has been a tremendous challenge in this parish because we are still the fastest growing parish in the state. And let me tell you, talking about the gas prices, we know. I have almost 200 vehicles, and it's going up. About 3 or 4 years ago, we were able to start getting into the brokering. We brokered some gas because we knew it was going to go up, and what I'm saying, about $300,000 or $400,000, and it was a great decision. We're constantly looking at those things. You can hear this from some of our fire chiefs. I know everything is going up. I mean, look, we we're very proud of, we have Tahoes here. Tahoes are now pricing themselves out the market. And you can't keep up. So, you know, you look at our fleet now, we have all kind of Dodges, Fords, or whatever we can get. And COVID kind of changed that. And they pretty much, if y'all remember trying to get a vehicle during COVID, you pretty much whatever was on the lot, and it was never anything cheap either. And so we ventured off into a contract with our enterprise to start leasing vehicles to try to save money. When I got into this sheriff deal, it was all great coming from a chief criminal deputy, and it turned into basically it's a business. I'm more of an administrative sheriff than a criminal sheriff, and it's a lot of business stuff, and you're constantly trying to save money and pinch pennies and still try to give the service to the people. We have Baton Rouge on one side of me, and I have Ascension on the other side of it. They don't like to say they're lower than us, but they're on the bottom side over here. But they pay their deputies a lot more than we do. And it's tough keeping good trained people here. And so it's a constant battle with that. And our budget's about $41 million. 85% of my budget is spent on salaries. And that's basically what it is. And then we have equipment, and we do everything we can to try to get the most bang for the buck. And I'm telling you, just to tell you, probably, I'm gonna guess that maybe about 4 years ago, probably the Tahoes were around that 40 mark, 4 or 5 years, about 40,000, $70,000 today, 70,000. It's incredible. And I can't even imagine what it's like to be a fire chief in those trucks. I really can't. And so those are the kind of things that we do. I mean, I don't know, and I mean, we've looked at our budget. I don't know if I can not roll forward. I just don't know if I can survive. And look what's going on in our country. If you don't think the border's a problem, follow my page. I mean, look, the last time I checked, anybody heard of the last time we had a meth lab in Livingston Parish? We don't have to more. You just get it straight from the border and packaged already, really good, nice packaging deals, just coming right across the border anytime you want to. It's affecting us. We're seeing it. We're making big cases here. And so it's a huge demand, and it's really tough to keep up with a fast-growing parish. And so, look, I want to do all I can to save as much money as I can, and I really take pride in that. I've had a clean audit the 12 years I've been your sheriff, and we pinch pennies, and we look at every single thing. We take advice from people. We try to be as transparent as possible. I know a lot of people think that I make money off of inmates in the jail. I don't make no money. I actually put about $2 or $3 million into that jail. And it's a tough thing, but now the jails, nobody wants to talk about it, but it's got a lot to do with your quality of life. If I don't have a detention center, I have nowhere to put them. And you got to have a good detention center to do that. I just met with Ricky Goff about trying to do what we can to get prisoners back here to save the parish money. We're doing everything we can. But look, in today's world with the demand on law enforcement, I just don't know if I can survive not rolling my millages forward. I don't know how I'm going to do it. We look at everything that we can to try to do that. Again, I mean, who else is going out there to broker gas to try to save $1 or $2? But it works. We've done everything we can to try to think that way. But I mean, I feel for you fire chiefs too, because y'all are like me. I mean, those equipment, the upfit is just unbelievable. Matter of fact, you'll start seeing some of our vehicles with bar lights. We used to not have bar lights, we went back to bar lights. The reason is you can actually use them. So we have done a lot in the last couple of years trying to go back to some of the ways we used to do things and just looking at what's the most efficient way to do something to save more money. And so that's kind of where I'm at. I'll entertain any questions you might have for me. Anybody? I'm only going to ask once. I knew John was going to have a question.
Let me know how the roof comes out.
How the what?
How the roof comes out on the jail.
Yeah, just hope it fixes. It's nice. It would be nice to go to jail and not have to cover our stuff with a tarp.
Right.
But thank y'all for doing that.
And I will tell you that we learned it was eye-opening. There's not a whole bunch of money, the sheriff's not making money off of inmates or selling prisoners. There's really not a lot of money there. And so,
We appreciate you saying that publicly.
Well, you know, a lot of people don't understand it. A lot of that stuff, like, you know, we have money that comes through that jail. We get money for DOC inmates, but we're also very cautious. So I have to have a certain amount to be able to pay my salaries for my employees that run that jail. But sometimes whenever I'm shipping people out of parish, I also make room on my DOC side. So if y'all are losing, so am I. So we try to kind of share that hurt to make sure we run that as fair as we can. Ricky and I talked about that the other day. So hopefully we got something coming down the pipe that'll help with that. Dale, you had a question?
It does fit the ask for sales tax to add on to our prison to make it more profitable.
I'm not asking no sales tax.
You know, if you make it a profitable thing, would it benefit your office and the town? How much bigger would you have to be to make a prison profit?
I don't think you never get big enough. I mean, look, we share an employee salary, and all this guy does, all he does all day long is try to find out what inmate might be hung up in the system. Can we get him to court faster? Can we get him through the judicial system? Can we get him out faster? So we have a deputy that's dedicated just to do that, to try to get those inmates in and out. You'll be surprised how many people are sitting there. We used to find this, that wanted to plead guilty, like, give me my time. And it would take, 90 days to turn around and sentence a guy that would only get 30 days. That's a waste of our money. Or time, credit for time served. So that was way back when, I don't know how many years ago, we decided, we need to pay attention to this. So we created that position for that, and it's actually paid off a lot. So right now we have a rough, been 80-ish, less than that. What we got, 60 inmates out of parish? About 60 inmates out of parish, which is pretty good. We've seen it up to 150.
one thing that you have, Mr. Dale, you have a problem with, not you, the person with, we're government entities, the sheriff, the school board, the parish council. You can't compete with private companies. And making a prison jail profitable, that's going to be very good. I mean, that's why the schools can do things like daycare and all that.
That's why we don't have a work release.
Yes, you can't.
It worked. 2 private companies tried it, and it just didn't work. They wound up getting both of them, one of them sold it, the other went in the hole. It's a really tough business. Yeah.
I would like, as far as the jail is concerned, I would certainly like to thank the people of this parish for providing us with the sales tax to fund the jail. Because many parishes don't have that revenue source. And prison is the #1 problem. I mean, if you don't have a funding source, because the federal government says you take care of prisoners first, over anybody else. So, we're talking about taxes tonight. Certainly would like to thank the people of this parish and our the leaders of the past, for foresight and thinking about that, because it is a huge relief on our budgets to have the funding source for it.
You're correct. I've seen the hurts.
Yes.
Any other questions?
Just in terms of how, if someone was new to the parish and wanted to understand these different issues, they want to understand the budget. I've looked at the legislative audit budget. It's a pretty complicated budget as opposed to just a simple sources of revenue, expenditure, so we can kind of understand what's coming in and what's going out, where do you put the money? Is there any way to do that where all these districts could just understand, but it's really not understanding what's coming in and what's spent, does it look reasonable? That helps us. I'd much rather pay a local tax than any other tax I pay. Because
I agree with you.
People I can watch, and people where you can have accountability. And it's just, is there a way for us to get a view of your budget in a simplified, non-legislative article format, where we can understand what comes in and what goes out and where it's going to be.
I would like to see that too. Sometimes it's tough on me to read a budget. I can call Jimmy and I don't quite understand this, because it can be confusing. Jamie, you had something you want to add?
So to answer that question, we're required to do it that way. That's their rules. We have to follow it. I would, you can come to our office anytime and sit down and go through it, but we're required to do it that way. And it makes sense to us, but it is not user-friendly. I will absolutely.
No, it don't make a lot of sense to me. But I'll tell you what, we'll talk about this. It's kind of a good idea. Maybe there's a way we can put something out to be a little more transparent, a little more simplified. And we'll look at that and see if there's something we can do.
The tax notice we get, that comes to us each year, there's some annotated kind of definitions of who it is, like parish, and that'll give us another description of one of mine. And I don't know anything about the next renewal date. I was wondering if we could get a more consumer-friendly notice to where it says, here's the entity, here's the millage rate, here's the next renewal. So we kind of know what, when the folks, this money we're voting on, we're paying for it, or get the bill next year, we reset. It just keeps you aware.
Yeah.
I
want to
do. Go ahead, Jeff.
I'll tell you this, there's only so much room you've got on a tax bill. We've got 46 taxing districts in this parish. And so when you go to putting every one of them on there, you have to kind of condense it a little bit, because it just goes through the roof with the cost and everything. But I will tell you this, that you can come in and see these offices. I've called them, asked them about budgets. They tell me. I mean, all you gotta do is ask them. They'll tell you what it is. Now, I would hope that we wouldn't get 500 people coming in and doing public records requests over and over, because what happens a lot of times when that happens is it really slows you down in your work day, and you're stopping to have to do this. But as far as the budget, just so you know, we share a lot of things. One of the things that we've worked on, the mapping system that I have given it to everyone in the parish. I don't turn around and charge that. I took that out of my own budget so they would not have to do that. I'm sharing an IT guy right now with the parish, because I said I really don't need a full-time person, but I do need somebody that can come over and make sure my printers are working and my keyboards and everything like that. And the parish president's office said, yeah, we can help you with that. So I know we're reaching out. Jamie does a lot of my accounting in my office. She does all my accounting in the office. So we're already sharing people, trying to get things like that done. And the budgets that come out and everything, she will show, this is your expenditures on this, and this. I mean, anytime you want to see that, you're more than welcome to come in and see ours. I will tell you this, there's two things I want to add to before the sheriff sets down. First of all, I think that some of the parish councilmen, when they were elected back in October, November, when they started doing a lot of their work, checking to see where a lot of the funds were, like a lot of times, they would look and see that a parish-wide tax, they would see it, and their first reaction, just like the public was, is all this money is going to the parish. The parish council gets a very small amount of money, a very small amount of money. They have been extremely good every year that I've been assessor of trying to go in and help with their minutes. Every year they have done that. And when you look at the small amount they get, it really is something to watch them do with what they got. Because when they got in there, I had heard someone say, man, we got all this money, we got this parish-wide, and all of a sudden they realized, wait, that really don't come to us? No, that parish-wide means that it goes to the assessor's office, is voted on, or is passed parish-wide. Everybody in the parish pays that one. Sheriff's office, everybody in the parish pays that one. But it's called parish-wide, and we try to distinguish some of it. But the parish government has done a real good job of trying to make sure that they give back. The sheriff and I, and there may be some other here in the, so if I miss you, I apologize. But the last couple of years, we have received a Certificate of Excellence in Finance award. That's a pretty big deal. That's a national award. That means that we are scrubbing, we're doing everything that we possibly can to do more with little. And we've been able to do that, and so I want to compliment him on the fact that he's received it now 2 or 3, 2 years, 3 years, 25, 5 years, okay? That's a pretty good deal.
Real person behind that award to stand up so she can be acknowledged.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%, that's a fact. But also, I want to say one other thing. If you have something that happens at your house, somebody's breaking into your house, let me ask you something. Do you want it to be a 15-minute response, or do you want it to be an hour? That's what it boils down to. If you don't have the money to pay deputies and get them on the streets and everything, the response time is going to be a lot less. If your house catches on fire, do you want that fire department there in 4 minutes, 5 minutes, or you want them to be there in an hour? An hour, you're gone. You don't have anything. So when you're asking people to do things, make sure that, I don't know where Mr. Goff went, but he said a few minutes ago, look at that glass half full, because they really are trying to get things taken care of. Sheriff, thank you for coming up and sharing with everybody tonight. He shared with you what his basic budgets are, and he's also shared with you what he's going to try to do with his millages. Next group that's coming up is the school board. They just went out for a 1-cent sales tax to try to pay their people. I will tell you before they walk up here that their total millage is going to bring them somewhere in the neighborhood of about $4 or $5 million more this year. They needed $24 million. That should pretty much tell you what they got to do with their millages. That should tell you pretty much that if they needed 24 and they're getting 5, that they're still short. I know that they went out and paid for a study. I don't know who paid for it, but I always get this wrong. It's either leapfrog or lean frog. Lean frog. And lean frog come in and said, this is what you can do to better help you. And so they took some of that information and tried to help out with some of the salaries. But guess what? They're still short. And if you don't believe that, go ask Ascension what they're paying. Go ask Baton Rouge what they're paying. Go ask all of them what they're paying. The worst thing that you can have is to train somebody and somebody tell you, go out and get some experience and then come back. And they come out and get experience out here. And then when we get them good and trained and they're taking over the classrooms and everything, they move to another area because they're making $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 more a year. That's what they're up against. So I'm going to turn it over to y'all. Y'all come up and tell what you're going to do with your millages and tell a little bit about your budget. Now this is somebody that's coming up here like she's at church. She's coming up there and she wants to be up on top. So thank you. Somebody introduce yourself.
I'm Ashley Amy. I'm the Assistant Business Manager for the school board. Livingston Parish School Board currently collects 9 different taxes that are collected on our behalf. 4 of these are parish-wide millages, and 5 are collected for individual districts. I'm going to go into a little more detail about each one. The first is we call it our 7-mil maintenance. It's a 7-mil tax. It's collected for the maintenance on buildings, equipment, vehicles, and the upkeep of all the grounds in our district. The funding is distributed across all the districts proportionally on a per pupil basis. This tax is estimated next year to generate $6.5 million. In 23-24, we estimate that will have cost us over $10 million. So 6.5 next year, we've already spent 10 this year. The second of our parish-wide millages is a 5-mil construction. This is collected for construction-related expenditures, including land acquisitions. This funding is distributed across all the districts proportionally on a per pupil basis. It's estimated to generate $4.5 million next year. This year, we expect to exceed $14 million in that fund. When either of these funds are in a deficit, we use our second sales tax that is dedicated for maintenance and facilities to transfer to cover that deficit. Our 3rd and 4th millages that we collect are also parish-wide millages, and they are collected and tracked in our general fund. The 2 millages are a 3.29 mil and a 7.18 mil. These 2 taxes are the 3rd largest source of revenue for our general fund. It is given to support our schools. The school board is the largest employer in the parish, and our general fund is responsible for salaries and benefits of over 3,800 employees. The cost of our monthly payroll for salaries and benefits alone is approximately $20 million. We recently contracted with Lean Fraud Consultants to perform a compensation analysis and an organizational review for the school board. Our compensation analysis showed that we run with a very lean and underpaid staff. Our board took a first step in addressing these issues with a $4 million initiative for the 24-25 school year in levelizing our salary schedules. Our hope is that as additional revenue sources become available, that we're able to address some of the other issues that were brought to our attention, such as Mr. Taylor just alluded to, our teachers. Just like Sheriff Ard's officers are leaving to go to other districts, our teachers want to go to Ascension, East Baton Rouge as well, where they can make more money. We understand the difficulties that people are facing in the recent years with price increases. We feel them too. I have one of examples is fuel. He alluded to fuel. In 2021, we spent $680,000 on fuel. Our buses run about 1.5 million miles a year. This year, we're expected to exceed $1.3 million in fuel. That's a 100% increase since 2021. So those are the 4 parish-wide millages that we have that we intend to roll forward, and so that we can, best use the funds. Our remaining 5 taxes are specific by district. These were voted on by the voters for each individual district, and these funds are used to pay down the bonds for these districts. These millages are set annually at the amount only needed to cover the district's bond principal and interest payments. These bonds were used to build facilities such as Live Oak High School, Walker High School, and the new facilities in Denham Springs. So we won't collect any more than what is needed on those to pay those bonds and interest. Any questions about any of the school board's millages? All right, thank you.
After all the noise that was made when the tax came about for the school board, I thought we would have a few more questions about it, because these people educate our children, and they do a good job of doing that. So thank y'all very much for coming in. I think the lean frog, Bob, I think it really pointed out, because look, there's so much distrust in government. It's just a lot of mistrust. And the people that showed up here tonight, you're wanting to get answers. And we understand that we want to give it to you. One of the things I was going to tell you a few minutes ago is we put our assessments online several years ago. And the reason we did that is so you could go on and look at your assessment, but you could also look at everybody else's assessment. And then you could come in there and show, because I never want the appearance of anybody thinking that they get a good deal because they know Jeff Taylor or they don't know Jeff Taylor or anything like that. That's not what I'm in this for. In fact, I've been in office for less than a year, and the new assessments come out, and my mother called me and she said, I like that other guy a lot better than you. So our deal, when I first come in, I made sure that everybody in my family, my 2 brothers, my sister, my mom and dad, my wife's mom and dad, I made sure that all were looked at, the assessments were looked at. Because if I'm going to assess them, I better be right at home. And then we went in and got our employees and made sure that they were correct. Because if they're not correct, why are we going to send them out there to make sure that you're correct? And then we went in and got some elected officials, okay? Some of you elected officials have actually seen our people at your house. So when you come in, we're going to make sure that if you're voting on a millage, we're going to make sure it's right. But we put the assessments online, and then we'll walk you through, Mr. Goff, if you want to look at it, we'll walk you through it, because it's really good to see this. And people always say, well, I don't want to say anything because I don't want to get my neighbor in trouble. Are you paying? You want to be okay with somebody not paying their fair share and you're paying more than your fair share? I'm not. So we're going to put it out there, and then we got it to where we can put all your tax notices online. You can go in there and look at them. And so you can ask all of the questions, the hard questions that need to be asked. And so I want to think that we are a leader in that. Look, when we, several years ago, we were held up as an office of ways not to do things. And then now we're showed, and we go to conferences and everything, as the way to do things. That's a pride moment. And I know you're not supposed to be overly proud, but I'm proud of the fact that my office works that hard to make sure that that's good. So compliment to y'all. Thank y'all for what y'all do. I'm going to now ask the library. I said that they could come in afterwards. Mr. Goff touched on the library a little bit, but I'm going to ask y'all to come up. And y'all both want a microphone, or y'all want to come up here? How y'all want to do it? Okay. Got one here. Got one here. That way you can introduce yourself to everybody.
Hey everybody, my name is David Gray. I'm the Public Information Officer for the Livingston Parish Library. I'm with Michelle Parrish. This is the Director of the Livingston Parish Library. And so we're just here. We found out about this a couple of weeks ago. We just wanted to just present some information. I would like to say that before I get started, that we are having a series of community meetings over the next month, starting this Thursday and then running through August 5th. We'll have 6 meetings, one in each branch. 2 will be at the Denham branch because that's our biggest branch, and 2 of those meetings are going to be live streamed because these are going to be sort of just like I said, town hall meetings, very informal, just there to answer questions that people might have. We'll have a brief PowerPoint presentation just to kind of show the history of the library, where we've been, and then just kind of what we're hoping to do, because right now we're in the middle of developing our next strategic plan. It's one of those documents that entities do every few years, just to kind of make sure you're up to date and trying to meet the new challenges that you have coming ahead. So I just wanted to get that little plug in, and I have flyers right there, and then on our Facebook page, we just did a post about it, so that'll be pinned to the top of the Facebook page if you want to see when the meetings are. They'll be from 5:30 to 7 p.m. Each time, so make sure that people can come after work. And like I said, we're going to have library officials there just to answer any questions that people might have. But so our millage is a 10 mil property tax. It was just renewed in November. It was first voted on in 1995. It's been renewed 3 times, and this is the library's only source of revenue. We get some federal grant money, but the vast majority of the library's revenue comes from this property tax. Like I said, it was passed in 1995, and this is last year in 2023, it brought in 6.7, and this year was 6.9, or what it's projected to be this 2024, 6.9. And so I know some, like the assessor, they said they're going, Mr. Jeff said that they're going to roll back. We can say right now we're not going to take the full maximum. We don't know yet what we're going to take though. That's what will be discussed more in these meetings, because we all know that Livingston Parish has grown a lot over the last, since this millage has passed, over the last 20 years, it's been grown by more than 50,000 people since then, and everyone's costs are going up. So if we were to collect, like Mr. Jeff said earlier, if you're collecting the same dollar amount, you are actually having less spending power. So right now, to get what we got this year would be 7.5 mils. But for example, this year our health insurance, or our benefits for employees went up $286,000 this year alone.
Right, we had a huge increase in our health insurance because, so did everybody else, about 25% just in health insurance last year. So to say that we have a savings at the end of the year is not correct. With our previous administration, they were very frugal, and we appreciate that, and I'm reaping the benefits of that, because now that our buildings are getting older, I'm starting to see the maintenance cost. So they got to see a little bit of that excess. I don't get to see now. I'm having to dip into that. Those things that might have gone maybe a $300,000 windfall is now costing me, because I'm having to pay for roof replacements that have tripled in cost. And the Albany Springfield has to have a retaining wall built behind it because the soil is eroding and we don't want the slab to crack.
Lord knows what happens if that how much that's gonna cost if I have to fix a slab for a whole library. So those things are gonna increase. I'm not gonna see a $300,000 windfall when this budget is done for this year, because we just had to replace the roof on the administration building. That was almost $60,000. When I have to replace the roof for the Livingston branch, the main branch, that's going to cost us close to $100,000. So our costs just in keeping those buildings up, and this is a mistake that people make when they talk about our millage. Our millage is for the upkeep, maintenance, and improvements of the library. There was a bond for the buildings, and that should be paid off this year.
The bond was passed in 2003, and
Right.
that's either paid off now or will be paid off this year.
So we heard that a lot when the millage discussion was going on, when our millage was being voted on, that was not what that was for. Yes, the bond was for building. The millage is for maintaining, improving, and increasing the services of the library. So I just, I want y'all to know that, and I want everyone to know that we employ all of our employees, most of our employees, we employ 95% of our employees live in this parish, grow up in this parish, they work in this parish, and they also deserve a pay increase. We haven't been able to look at our salaries in 8 years because we've been holding steady. Our millage and the amount we bring in, we might fluctuate $200,000, I'd say, in the last 8 years with those. But that's not going to happen this year. And we need to be able to keep those people that we are training, because we're also having the same problems. We're losing the people that come in with degrees that we train, and they go to EBR because they can pay more money. Ascension pays more money than we do. And then they also have civil service in EBR, so that's something that we don't have, that we cannot provide. So we are also fighting for those employees. We're also fighting to have just skilled workers. I mean, I know y'all all know what that's like. And if we can't adjust those salaries, then we're going to continue to lose those skilled workers.
Is there any questions that anybody has? A couple more points I would like to point out, just with the revenue. The state library does a report every year, just of all the libraries in the state, just so people could kind of have that basic information. And comparatively, the Livingston Parish Library, despite being the 9th most populated parish, has the 16th most revenue of all the systems in the state. So our local revenue per capita is just over $40. The state average is $62. So I mean, we feel we are doing more than less. And a lot of the parishes that are, I mean, obviously we're never going to have, like EBR has, their budget was $49 million. That would be nice, but like some of the parishes, St. John, I believe the Baptists, they have more than us. Ascension, she said they have more revenue than us, so we are doing more than less and more with less. And just some of the numbers, because I know, look, before I started working at the library, I rarely used the library. I'm gonna be honest. I rarely used it. I use it for the Wi-Fi. I didn't do checkouts or anything, but I would go there, I would use it for the free Wi-Fi. But last year we had over 500,000 checkouts. That was an estimated economic return of $8.3 million. We had the Southeastern Business Research Center did an economic impact study for us this year at no cost, so no one says that we paid them to get what we wanted. It's something that they provide to entities in their 5 parish service area, and $8.3 million just on checkouts alone that people benefit, because like I said, we had over 500,000 checkouts last year. Last year we had 48,000 people attend the program, which I don't know if any of y'all have ever made to any of our programs. Book Festival, this year we had 2,300 people attend. Comic-Con, which was in February, we had 2,200 people attend. Last summer reading, which summer reading is our most crazy time of the year. Today I was at the Denham branch for something called the LA Snake ID. That is a Springfield organization that they basically, it's a petting zoo of snakes.
They do state conservation, David.
There we go, state conservation. And there was close to 250 people in the Denham branch today. Had we had another one, we easily could have doubled that if we had a bigger space or if we did 2 shows, because, I mean, they were, look at our Facebook page, I'll put a picture up today. I mean, if you've ever been in the Denham branch, that line was wrapping from the meeting room all the way out to the entrance in the, through the glass hallway that was part of the Denham renovation to the circulation desk. So, I mean, people were packed for that, and we have over 300 programs in June and July alone, so it's gonna kind of be like that all summer. I mean, it's just madness. And last year, for some reason, we had 13,000 people attend, and that was back to the pre-COVID numbers, because we're just starting to get back from that. So this year, I'm going to bet that we're going to beat that number this year, 13,000 just in June and July. So there are people who really, and I would urge you, if you've never gone to any of these events, go, just see how, I mean, much fun they are. I mean, you see kids petting snakes. I wasn't touching one of them, but I mean, there was a lot of people loved them, and it was fun to watch. And this year, you know, we're already planning for our next book festival. These things keep getting bigger and bigger, like the Comic-Con, yeah, and more expensive. But yeah, so that we're just trying to say that we do believe we are being a service to the parish, but we also do want to work with parish leaders, because we do want to make sure that we're being good stewards of public funds, and that means we know not taking the full 10 this year. Now, like I said, we don't know what it will be, but we do know it will be less than the full 10. So, but yeah, so if anybody has any questions, I know I kind of rambled on for a minute, but.
When do you adopt your budget for?
So in October, and we have the final budget's in October.
Sorry.
Stop. November, actually. When do we do? Yeah, November is our last meeting. It's in November. So I start working on it, and we do the last one in November.
This summer we will do the millage meeting. That will be this summer when we discuss what millage we're requesting to take.
Well, yeah, that will be probably the September meeting. When we do that right before the meeting, then the board will vote on our millage. Then we send it over to the assessor's office and to the legislative auditor's office. But the full budget is in November. That's when I present what the budget for 2025 will be to the board. And we do have copies of that. And I try to keep it not simple, but our line items, we line item everything out so you know exactly how much we're spending on Book Fest, how much we're spending on insurance, how much we spend on this and that. They're not easy to read. They're not your household budgets, and I hate when I hear that, because none of our budgets are our household budgets. You can't run a government agency on a household budget. It just doesn't work that way. And when you can't bring in any other source of revenue but what you get from your taxes, you can't make up a shortfall, and that's what we try to do, because we can't take out loans. We can't do any of those things. So if I have to replace a roof and I don't have the money for it, if I haven't saved that money from the year before or 2 or 3 years before, knowing that that's happening, I can't go out and take a loan for that. I can't ask my friend who's a roofer to cut me a deal. We can't do those things like you can do with your own household budget. So it's a totally different organism, I guess I should say. What I do want everybody to know is that we do our best we can to make sure that we stay within budget. We don't, but we have to see growth. This parish has to see growth, whether it's, I live here. I grew up here. My parents are here. My brothers are here. You have to see some growth. You have to move forward, because if you don't, even if you're a state agency, you become stagnant. And then they don't know what you are for, like the health unit. Nobody knew that they do restaurant reviews and things like that to make sure your restaurants are up to speed. Nobody knew that, and they voted against it. So you have to realize that the people that are running these organizations are doing the best they can to get everything out there. And we have done that when we did the millage meetings, asked people to come out and talk to us about the millage before, because there was so much misinformation. I've never once had $19 million. I wish I did. I don't. But so I would like for people to come out and ask us questions. We've been out, we're doing these for the strategic plan. It's important that you know what we want to do, and we've gotten feedback from some of the public. They really want to see our services grow, but not everybody is together on that. One thing we do know is we'd like to see a new bookmobile. Our bookmobile makes 40 stops a month, and that's not including all of the school things they do, all of the extracurricular things like going to fairs, and we've gone to the gumbo cook-off and all those things. We need another bookmobile.
We turn down
things because we can't go. So just to give you an idea of how much things have increased in cost, when we bought the first bookmobile, it was like $175,000. The one I'm looking at right now, $350,000. And we bought that one in 2017. So the cost is just ridiculous. So just know that we're doing the best we can, but we also want to provide those services and move forward. Any questions? No one.
Okay. We've got, how many more entities do we have? I know I got the fire departments over here, and then I've got JT, the mayor of Livingston. You good? You're all right? At this point, I'm going to bring forward the fire districts. You can do it together, or you can do it separate. It's up to y'all, whichever way you want to. Godfather, you make the decision on how y'all want to do it. Hey, I'm going to tell y'all something. I know these guys. I know these two guys really well. I know the time and the effort that they put in. I've had Joe Kozrowski call me on many occasions talking about the money that they get and what they need. Down in the Springfield area, Brian Drury is doing he's doing absolutely the best he can. And I will tell you that right now they have 2 trucks that are not operational, and they're pulling things all together just to try to make it happen. So not always can you just say across the board we need to just lower, because sometimes they're just trying to catch up for things in the past. So which one y'all want to go first?
I'll go first.
All right.
He's going to take longer.
I'm Brian Drury. I'm the fire chief in Springfield, Livingston Parish Fire District 2. We have the opportunity to roll to 10 mills, is which we normally operate at, and we are going to proceed back to 10 mills. We've operated in a deficiency since the flood of 16. Like Jeff just said, we have a fire engine, one of our pumpers. It's out of service. It takes over $30,000 to make the repair. It doesn't make sense to repair a truck that was built in 1999 at this point. All right, and then we have a tanker truck because we don't have good fire hydrants down there. We have to bring our water with us. But one of my 2,500-gallon tankers, the tank is rotted out. And to make it even harder, it's a standard. I mean, people here a lot of us in here, I'm looking around the room, people my age group, we still drive them, but the youngsters can't. So we can't even have the trucks make it to the scene even if we were to change the tank. So we have to replace that truck also. The cost of doing business, and all of us see it in our homes. The parish council's mentioned it, everybody's mentioned it. I'll just make a quick little mention of it. A fire truck, whenever we bought that truck I just talked about, I was there in the fire department when we bought it, we paid $120,000 for that truck brand new in 1999. All right, today, that's just a commercial cab truck, like a Coca-Cola type trucks, one of those, that's a $500,000 truck today. Most of us are driving around a custom cab truck, which has rollover safety features. That's really what you want your firefighters in. That's between $600 and $1 million for that truck. So, and give you a little perspective, we do the Fireman's Poker Run every year. Some of you've heard of it, some of you here were there. This past weekend, my volunteers work about 6 months preparing to put that event on so we can make money to purchase fire trucks. And we just celebrated like we are on top of the world right now, because we bought a rescue truck. It is beautiful. It's got 10,000 miles on it, it's used. $130,000 for that truck. It's 20 years old, y'all. We had to celebrate purchasing a 20-year-old fire truck. Is that the world we're supposed to be in right now? Where's all the priorities landed at in the world with what's the most important? If the fire department, if we can't get and work and maintain all the requirements that are needed to satisfy the Property Insurance Association of Louisiana, your fire insurance rating is going to go up. Well, now if the insurance ratings go up, you pay more money to your insurance agent. And look, our agents are very nice people. They live really well too, all right? I'd rather you keep that money local where you can see where your dollars are. You know, I think the gentleman over here mentioned earlier, locally, I'm a fire district too. Everybody in my fire district's money is at the fire stations. You can see it anytime you want to, come through. Some of it's gonna make you scratch your head. Like, wow, you're really still using that old truck? Because we have a 1985 model truck still in service. 1985. Matter of fact, I have a 1983 model aerial platform still in service. Those trucks, most people don't use them anymore, they're too old. We have to, we have no choice. Outfitting a firefighter, coat and pants, that's $5,000 for one firefighter. The SCBAs, the air bottles we wear to go into the fires, that's $9,000 for one. Every fire engine is required to have 4. All right, I have 7 engines, that's 28 of those. I have 4 service trucks, there's 4 more of those required on service trucks, 9,000 per. So, and it goes, the list goes on and on and on. So yeah, I can justify it and I can say the fire departments, and I know I've communicated with all the fire districts today, and I'll have Chief sit here talk in a minute, and I don't know if Dugas is gonna come speak or not in a minute for Fire District 4. But we everybody's gonna roll theirs up. And I go back to something too, there's a lot of payroll stuff been discussed. Well, when you have volunteers selling chicken dinners, doing all the raffles and doing these things to help pay the bills, we haven't even got to payroll. Right? That's not even our problem. Our problem is keeping up-to-date equipment and serviceable to protect our citizens. That's our priority. All right, so that's why we're rolling ours up. If anybody's got any questions for me? Nothing, JT?
I ask questions all the time.
Yes, sir.
Tell me about your new building you're trying to get some more.
Yeah, so my fire station, our primary station in Springfield on Terry Street, that's our headquarters. So I mentioned the age of the buildings earlier. The building's built in 1971. It's our primary fire station. You should have been in there during Ida with us. I thought we were about to get a new station. All right, the building was moving literally. We had water blowing through the walls, from the front to the back. The guys were in there with shop vacs and squeegees. All right, it was and I didn't want to admit to them, but it's the first time I was really concerned that we were about to lose the building. All right, been in there for every hurricane since July of '99. I've been chief. I know, Jeff, you said you're the oldest serving public official. Elected. Okay, elected, yeah, because I wasn't elected. I was suckered. You were elected. All right. So, but anyway, yeah, the buildings, we're trying to get into a new building right now. You know, and we got some monies from the state. We're very fortunate Speaker Shakespeare passed some funding down to us. Unfortunately, I'm a very naive person. I'm not a contractor. I have cows, and I'm a firefighter. I didn't know how much it cost to build a fire station, so I didn't ask for enough money. So, you know, $1 million isn't enough to build a fire station, I'm finding out. So, yeah, we're sitting there trying to figure out how we're going to do this. We had to cancel the one project we were working on because we couldn't afford it, and now we're trying to move it to another to fit the same agenda we were trying to get accomplished with the original plans. It's just not enough money. But all you volunteer departments, all your fire departments across the parish, we're equally as broke. We all have the same expenses. Some you're going to hear from in a minute, it's got even more expenses for payroll and such as that. But I knew like... I thought you said I was going to be long-winded. You're going to be, yeah, just wait till he gets up here. But yeah, so yeah, anybody got any more questions, I'll be glad to answer them. And if not, catch me afterwards. I love talking about the fire service. It's been my life. I've been 31 years at it. So thank y'all for your support.
I'll talk real quick. You or Joe just talked about some other types of revenue sources you're trying to bring in as far as your fire impact fees. Trying to be creative.
Yeah. So something, and I've been in Jeff's office a number of times over the years, and I've burned his phone down many a day, trying to get creative. I'm telling you right now, I absolutely hate ad valorem taxes. despise them with every fiber of my being. I wish whoever established a tax base for the parish years ago would have come up with a better plan, but this is what we all kind of grew into, right, and kind of stuck with it. Sales tax is more fair, because everybody, like somebody mentioned, somebody passing through is paying for it, especially the people coming in to dine and enjoy our stores, people coming by here to enjoy the rivers and the restaurants, they would help pay. To not have another ad valorem tax, I kind of got a little creative and have approached the parish council and did it under the former council, was about to come back to this council, is a fire impact fee. That way, it doesn't affect those of us that live here now. It affects those developers coming in to develop. And that's going to kick some more funding toward your fire service, okay? It's a one-time fee, formula-based. I think that's the most fair way I can do it. You know, there's going to be a residential rate, there's a commercial rate, and I have to add the industrial rate because I wasn't thinking about that when I wrote it up. But that way, if I open up Brian's Snowball Stand, I got a 500 square foot building, and he comes up with Godfather's warehouse over here, you know, it's 10,000 square foot warehouse, we shouldn't pay the same amount of money for an impact. So that's why we do a formula based on that. And that's what we're going to be approaching the council with, trying to get put through. Yes, sir?
Yeah, absolutely. Talking about it. I sit on the finance committee, so I'm all for impact fees.
I think it's the most fair thing to do. For those of us that live here, we're already paying. We've heard that tonight, right? We're already paying. So every one of us has got a rooftop, we're paying our part. We should, but the costs are going up, and instead of me coming after another ad valorem tax, I'm not even going to try, because I've watched everybody else going through with sales tax. The impact fee is kind of where I felt my confidence would be. So, anybody else?
Thank you, sir. I'm Joe Kozrowski. I am the fire chief at Fire Protection District 5. And as Brian was saying, that it's almost impossible for us to reduce our millage. We've been playing catch up since the flood. We operated at a $200,000 deficit last year. We're projected to do the same thing this year. The money that we had allocated for new fire trucks is now going into our budget to maintain what we've got. We've got substantial growth in our district, but with that growth comes a lot of work, a lot of expense. When we started in '86, we were running 300 calls a year. We now run 4,000 calls a year. Impossible to do with the same money that we're bringing in now. The fuel costs, the expenses, and just touching on what Brian said about the user fee, the impact fee. When somebody clears a large spot of land and they're going to clear 1,000 acres, our liability starts the minute they put a bulldozer on that piece of property. The school board doesn't get impacted right away, the sewer system, but the fire department is out there. We're running calls. District 4 had a guy got stuck underneath a bulldozer. They had to go out there. We don't receive revenue off of that property for years, so the people who are paying the taxes today that are paying us to protect them, we're using their money to go out there and take care of other things that bring in zero revenue. So, you know, we're at 10.14. I know they call it a rollback and then roll forward. We're not going up on our millage, but we're going to stay at the maximum we can claim because our expenses, just like the sheriff, our salaries are there. My newest truck is 13 years old. We just bought a 19-year-old truck out of Newark, Delaware, and I drove up there. We drove it back, and it was $40,000. My oldest trucks are 1989 models. And, you know, we still have them in service because, as he was saying, they're tankers. Some places don't have hydrants. We got to bring the water to them. You know, I have full-time mechanics that do nothing but work on these old trucks because we can't afford to buy. We've taken the money that we've put aside to buy new trucks and put it in our operating budget. And trust me, at the 10.14, it's going to be years before we get back to where we were before the flood, and then COVID, and then Ida, and you know, to say it's a windfall is a misleading number. It's not a windfall. It's trying to just get back to the level of service that we had to supply. You don't want me to show up 20 minutes later. You want me to show up 2 minutes earlier. You know, you don't want us to come to the car wrecks and to the medical, and it's not just firefighting anymore. We've become the first line medical treatment out there for anybody that gets hurt, that gets cut, that has a stroke, the overdoses, you know, so, you know, I ask for y'all's support to help us just to maintain. The extra money will not let us really move forward. It's just going to help us to maintain the services that we've all come to know and expect. And Robert, I'm going to turn it over to you. I try not to be as long-winded as my friend back there, but you know. Now, I can't promise the same for him.
Well, that's why I got it wrote down, so that I just go by.
You're gonna hit your high spots?
Yeah.
All right, here, you want me to hold the mic for you so you can read that?
That'd be the first time you've used it.
Okay.
All right, my name's Robert Dugas. I'm the chairman of District 4. Just got some things highlighted about District 4. We cover about 225 square miles of Livingston Parish, approximately 60,000 citizens. It says on here roughly 43% of the parish population is in our district. We currently have 53 full-time employees, 17 part-time employees, and 30 volunteers. We've been in existence since 1975 and have had tremendous growth within our district. Let's see, right now we have 14 firefighters on at 7 stations 24/7. Our goal is to get to 10 fire stations with a minimum of 2 firefighters that are manned 24/7. So that's our goal. Some of our let's see, our 5 stations, original stations, are between 25 and 50 years old. So some of these stations were built in 1975 that we're still using. We need to, part of our plan is to renovate those for those full-time firefighters and add on the living quarters for them, which will require, once we do that, 11 additional full-time firefighters. We currently have 63 apparatus. Of the 10 first out engines we have, 6 of them are between 15 and 30 years old. So that's our first out engines. They got a note on here that we purchased 4 fully equipped fire engines in 2015 for $440,000 each. Today, those are just shy of $1 million for a first out engine. So the starting salary for a firefighter operator is about $34,500 a year and working 2,912 hours a year. So firefighters work on a 12-hour shift. They don't work 40-hour shifts like the rest of us. So just to kind of give y'all some numbers, our budget right now is about $8.7 million total. Out of that, 4.1 is salaries, 1.4 is payroll expenses, Social Security, Medicare, and retirement, and it costs us about $1 million in other benefits. You know, the other chiefs talked about what it costs. It costs approximately $12,000 to $15,000 to outfit a firefighter. Just one, between the SCBA, your helmet, your bunker gear, your boots, everything. You're looking at close to $15,000 to make sure that firefighter comes home. And that's basically what we want to make sure we do. District 4, I hate to steal Chief's thunder, but District 4 did about 7,000 calls last year. It's a little easily 4,000. But no, they do have the numbers. So through May, we did 3,027 calls. And I just had an update. As of today, we've done another 220 calls since the end of May. So in just over a few days. We've done 844 pre-plans and 429 inspections since January. So that's another thing that we have. We have a fire prevention bureau within District 4, which is basically the state fire marshal arm. We have our own fire bureau that goes out and does these inspections and does these pre-plans on commercial buildings. So we're not dependent on the fire marshal to come in. So I got any questions from anybody?
So your millage rate was just higher than the other districts.
Okay, so we have two. Well, we actually had in 22, we passed a referendum for additional 15 meals. And that's what we are paid, we're using to pay, we hired 23 new firefighters in 22, 23. So basically that 4 million and that 15 meals is covering those salaries. So I don't know, we're going to be, next Monday is our meeting. We will advertise for a public hearing, and then we will, July will be the meeting that we'll discuss our millages. We've already started our advertisement, so that'll be in the July meeting. Those are brought up. Yes, sir.
I wanted to say that there was in my District 6, there was a fire. I know you have a lot, but personally, I know of this. In Pine Meadow subdivision, the lady timed it from the time she made the call for the trucks to arrive was 8 minutes. 8 minutes to save that house. It didn't spread anywhere else. That is amazing. So thank you for what you do. I know a lot of people also know you fought the fires before, 200-acre land fire back in, what was that?
March, April.
In February, I believe. Did a phenomenal job on that. A lot of people were there. All districts came.
And that's the one thing about all of us, we all work well together. Anytime they call, we'll respond. I kind of get tired of looking at them sometimes. Any other questions? Thank you.
We got one more coming up, but I want to say one more thing about Mr. Drury. I'm not talking about any of the other fire departments, but he shared with me today that, and this is what I was trying to get to you, his firemen, right now, they don't have bunks. They stay there all night to protect you, and they're sleeping in recliners. They're sleeping in recliners. And that's the ones that are there to answer the call when the call is made. They jump out of that recliner and they jump on a truck and they take off. So thank y'all for what y'all do. Thank you so much for what you do. We got, I think, one more, and that's Mayor Taylor from the town of Livingston. Some of y'all look at him and y'all realize that me and him are close to being twins. I mean, when you look right at us, you see how the height and everything is right dead on. So this is my nephew, and so he's doing a wonderful job for us out in Livingston. So JT.
Yep. And I tell people when they come in the office, if somebody comes in and says, I want to talk to Jonathan, I just tell them to send them to the back, because that's my family's the only ones that know me as that. But I wasn't going to talk, and I leaned over and told Buddy something, but I wasn't going to say anything. Town of Livingston, we're a little different, so I'm going to take a little bit different approach. Our budget's around $5.4 million. Our ad valorem tax is only $80,000 a year. That's all we get. It's 4.77 mils. So yes, we're going to go back for that 4.77. That doesn't even pay for one employee. We got 25 employees. A lot of our revenues just comes from utilities and sales tax, and also Sheriff Hart. How was a majority of this paid for? Jason, get off your phone. How was the majority of this paid for?
Well, it was actually paid with unexpected $12 million check to COVID money.
So I knew how it was paid for. That's why I wanted to ask him that. So all I hear, there's a lot of perception from people, and my dad always says a quote. He says, if you can't raise a hand to help, don't raise a voice to criticize. So I appreciate the people that are here that don't just get on Facebook and say, I was talking about my buddy Paul earlier. He said they pulled the bleachers out because they heard 300 people were going to be here. This happens every time in the town of Livingston. They want to get on Facebook, and I know, we got Action 17 here, and Ken might put on Facebook what I'm saying right now, but sometimes I think it needs to be said. And I'll be the one to say it, and maybe I'm just a young buck and I'm naive and I shouldn't say these things, but a lot of times, you know, they want to get on Facebook and they want to criticize and sit on the couch, but I'm gonna listen to people that come and show up and talk to us and say, hey, we want to see this, we want to see that, because there's conversation. And you know, I think when you come, you learn some things and you realize school board, they were bashed on social media. They have all this extra money, but they bring in Lean Frog and find out, man, they are doing a great job with their money. And there's, like Uncle Jeff said, there is a lot of mistrust with government. I think this thing right here, social media is the reason why. Because it's a lot easier to sit on Facebook and Twitter and gripe and complain and not come to a meeting and show up and come with facts. And I have some facts for you. That's why I wanted to get up just real quick. So when I knew they was having this meeting, I'm a numbers guy. I don't like to criticize any entities unless I find out. I'm gonna go talk to them. I want to hear from them, and I want to see what I can do to help. So I pulled this off of. Got to read it here. The 2023 Louisiana Tax Commission. Okay, 2023 Louisiana Tax Commission. So this kind of shows overall to me what Livingston Parish is doing with their money compared to other parishes. So Livingston Parish, we generated last year $77,674,000. Okay, so I took our population and compared it to other parishes. So us as a whole, that's the money that was generated from all of our millages in this parish last year. That averages out to $540 per citizen. Okay, $540 per citizen. That's all the millages, all the other districts, Walker School District, Denham Springs, Live Oak, all the parishes, the sheriff's office, ours, everybody's. Okay, so Ascension, $1,651, per citizen. St. Tammany, $1,395 per citizen. West Baton Rouge, $2,882 per citizen. Iberville, $3,612 per citizen. Rapides, $1,022. It goes on and on. So to me, like I said, I'm a numbers guy. I wanted to go look at it before I came to this meeting tonight, and I wasn't going to say anything. But everybody, I know most of these people that got up and talked, and I've met with them, and I know them personally, and I know they're not just sticking money in their pocket like they're accused of sometimes on social media and elected leaders, and we're taking all this extra money. I think we have great people in this parish, great leaders, so that's the only reason I want to get up and talk. Take a little bit of this.
Boy, he's something, man. He's something. So now, you pretty much know what's going on in the parish. The people that showed up tonight to talk about their millages, look, there are several of them that called me that they could not be here. They had meetings tonight and a lot of things going on. But we appreciate you coming out. To the general public, thank y'all. Thank you for coming out and being able to allow us to speak to you and to bring forth the things that are important. It's important to know what each one of these districts are going to do. They try to tell you what they're thinking. We got some that say they're going to lower, some that says they can't. I will tell you this, that we have done the best job we know to do by law to put the assessments where they're supposed to be. Anything from there, after that, it just comes down to what the districts are going to charge. But as you heard them speak tonight, there's a lot of them that need the money. And Mayor, I want that piece of paper you just had to show that we're spending $500 per citizen, and you've got Ascension spending $1,600. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's all the millages put together.
Yeah, I just went on the,
Oh no, they've got more, they've got a lot of it. But it shows you what we're able to do with $500, a third of the money, we're able to do this. We have a top 10 school system. We got a first-rate sheriff's office. We've got a good parish council that tries to do everything they can. We got firemen sleeping in recliners just to make sure that everything is there taken care of for you. I am proud to be from Livingston Parish. I don't shy away from it. I will put Livingston Parish up against anybody in the state. I do all the time. When I go somewhere and I'm speaking, Livingston Parish is first. So I can assure you that these people that are having to come back to you every 4 years and ask you for your vote, they're not out there to try to make you mad. They're out there to try to do the best job they possibly can. And I applaud you. And for the public that showed up tonight, thank you, thank you, thank you. And for the ones that are watching us on Mr. Chapman's podcast and the ones over here at Action News, thank you for putting this out so people can see it, so we can get the word out to more and more people. And how many of y'all would like to see this done again? How many of y'all like the transparency of it? We're going to try to do it more, and hopefully the next time when we tell them that, look, I don't know if we're going to get 5 people here or if we're going to get 500, but you might want to make room. And then you get here and we've got 10 people that show up. But I guarantee you in November, somebody bring me a Dr. Pepper and a cookie in about November, because they're going to be lined up outside my office because they're going to conveniently forget that we had a meeting. And we're going to remind them that we had a meeting for you to come in and look. So you need to go online. You need to look at your assessment starting now. Come into our office. Call us. We are here. David and Tim are going to stay up here. And if you want to look and see what your assessment's going to be before you leave, go ahead and look at it tonight. But we're here to take care of you. If you have any questions, please give us a call. I'll give you my cell number. My office number is 225-686-7278. For all you out in the public, give us a call, and we will do whatever we can to help you, because we want to see Livingston Parish thrive. That's our goal. That is our mission, and we are going to accomplish that mission. Thank y'all very much for coming tonight.